Well, it is April 2nd, 2023, and for me, that is World Autism Awareness Day, an international observance. I think, uh, I don't know if it was created by the United Nations, but as the organization I know of that recognizes it and promotes it and has functions and events that talk about it and share about it. Um, and again, it's about awareness. And so people who are autistic or are on the spectrum um, are not so hidden and alone and feel so unappreciated and unwelcome on their own planet as and being a part of this global community. Um, we don't have to feel so cast out and cast away and frowned upon for existing. At least that's my sense of it and my experience of it. And so that's, like, for me, just one of the reasons why I was taught early on to mask and to downplay anything and everything that was different about me. I didn't understand. I just, saw that other people behaved a certain way, and I just wanted to be like how myself. But that was not good. So I had to learn to be different than myself because to fit in, to belong, to not be alienated from everyone else, because I was the difference. Everyone else was normal, and or more normal than I was, at least. Everybody has their own story and their own parameters of what is actually normal versus, how far do we all have to leap to reach that common ground in the center, and how far we're deviating around that central idea of what is the ideal normal, if there is such a thing, which I don't think there is. But for me, that gap, that bridge was missing, or at least it was more difficult to define. So I was taught to um, repress or suppress or depress my natural tendencies and be more like other people. Um, Follow them around, do what they do. And because when I was growing up, where I was growing up, there was some programs and, outreach and things like that, but mostly it was, I think, my parents were taught, especially my mom, was taught, or it was her thinking, that treat him like a normal kid and he'll be a normal kid. And that's about the best that was available, aside from trying to nurture and culture whatever special interests I had or developed, and things like that. And I think it was as good as a childhood as could have been provided, given the situation and the family and all that sort of stuff. Every family's got its own stuff, but I think it was a good childhood. School was difficult, um, but I did my best with what I knew how to do, and being how it was. But it was always a struggle for me, you know, finding some way to belong and not be ostracized or noticed too much. Because I really just never really belonged very well to any particular group. So I spread, as feeling out different groups, and I didn't really belong to any of them. But I didn't really have many good friends, but I did have a few. Um, the misfits, fellow outcasts, But I don't know if any of them were also autistic. I think they're just more just outsiders like me. Of course, some of them did have a few insides on the popularity game, but I mostly was just on my own and did my own thing. And yeah, I guess it's on every individual to find their own niche and then live in it or be there or adopt it or but it's not something, being autistic is not something you grow out of, is what some people seem to think. What happens to all those autistic children? They grow up, they become autistic adults, and some of us learn to mask better or to hide it better, or I guess a lot of people, they just don't talk about it, or they don't know. Like I didn't know. I made it up to the age of, well, I don't want to say, but I made it quite a ways without knowing. It's documented. I talk about it, but I don't want to feel like saying it again. That whole story. But anyway, I thought about doing a short today, and then realized, as far as like World Autism Awareness Day, and I thought, I can't say everything that I want to be able to say in a minute's time. I just can't. I can't condense it. And even if I like wrote it out and then read it, it would sound insincere and disingenuous and inauthentic, and those words, less credible. And it's like I don't want to claim to represent anything other than myself, and I can only speak for myself. I don't speak for anyone else. And this channel and everything that I do, it's not really for entertainment, and it's not for education. And it's more about me talking to myself and getting better at practicing with communication and just talking out loud and hearing myself talk. And the original concept was to put myself on the record and be available. And the original intent was for a single original audience. And it was to give them the opportunity or the chance to, if they wanted to, get to know me better in a safe way where they didn't actually have to talk to me, they didn't have to engage in conversation or interact with me directly. And they could do it at their own discretion, at their own time, and I wouldn't even know what they watched or if they watched. They wouldn't be responsible for any of the knowledge that was contained or not contained within. And I just wouldn't ever even know. It was completely anonymous. And to this day, I still don't actually know if they watched any of it. Ever. At all. And I just kept making videos the entire time. Because I enjoyed it. It was for me. And I realized along the way, the entire time it was for me. I thought it was for making it for them, so that they could get a chance to get to know me. But it turned out it was for me all along. And selfishly, a lot of things which I like to think of as being for other people, it's for me. It all comes back to being about for me. And if it actually does any good for anyone else or any other purpose greater than myself, well, that's great. But even that is still, it makes me feel good about being in the world, being a part of the world, and feeling like I contribute something. So I don't really believe in pure altruism unless I don't know about it. Whatever good that might result from something that I've done directly or indirectly, and I don't know about it, that could be argued to be altruistic, but I will never know about it. If I know about it, and then it becomes less so, because I am benefiting somehow from it. I think. I'm not sure about it. But that's my current philosophical take on altruism. And because I can just, you know, I read something recently about effective altruism. How, there are teams on like think tanks and things like that that will not just work through, you know, charitable organizations or philanthropic organizations to best help various concerns around the planet. And the example they gave was, you could spend so much money to train and, a seeing eye dog for a blind person, and then, provide that seeing eye dog to a person that needs it. And it might cost like $30,000. They're expensive to, get a dog and train it and provide it and stuff. And or you could spend that same amount of money and provide a medication, an easily preventable condition that affects tens of thousands, if not more, hundreds of thousands of people, and prevent blindness or vision impairment in the first place in developing countries, so they wouldn't need the seeing eye dog. So you can spend, so that was the example that was given, and it made sense to me. So, and I don't know why I went off on that tangent, but that's what I do. And I was trying to get out of it, but I was like, no, it's too late. I'm already committed. So, back to World Autism Awareness Day. And that was the purpose of this video. And more than that, I'm trying to psych myself up and into a plan to travel tomorrow, driving back again to the place where I grew up, or spent my childhood and early adulthood, and more importantly, to the house where a lot of my belongings yet remain in stasis, a little time bubble where things don't change, not very much at least, and all of my stuff has just been kind of in permanent storage there, awaiting disposition. And now that the situation has changed, I need to go back. Now is the time. If I want anything to salvage or to keep or to save from disappearing completely, it's like, now is the time. I got to go get it, figure out something to do with it. Otherwise, it's just going to get dispersed or thrown away, wherever away is, which means a landfill, which is the ultimate destination for a lot of things anyway. In the end, over time, in the grand scale, everything gets recycled and reused and repurposed. I'm talking like, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of years. Everything gets recycled. And everything that matters now won't really matter very much in the end. It'll just find its natural course. And so I try not to worry so much about things on my time scale, because my time scale is a very human time scale. So if I'm choosing to spend my time, what time I have, worrying, that's my business. But I don't have to. I can live responsibly, choose responsibly. And anyway, so travel. I'm on vacation. So today is my first day of vacation, and I didn't go. I thought, well, I want to take a day, just to get out of my work cycle and just do whatever. And so that's what I'm doing. This is part of whatever, which I enjoy. And, this is fun for me. I don't know about for anybody else, but no one has to watch. I don't think many people do. And that's okay with me. So it's actually a little bit more fun at being less less seen, because then especially when it gets to this point, I can feel more confident that nothing that I say will ever be heard. And it's like a art or a practice of exhibitionism, where it can be seen, it could be seen, but it won't. So I derive some measure of satisfaction in that I did something, and it was probably less, than safe, but not very dangerous, but still, there was some measure of risk involved. And but nothing came of it. It was just all, it's like play. It's a form of play. So anyway, now I'm leaving myself a record that tomorrow, on April 3rd, I should be driving, and I should be making the trip, and it might be the last time I drive there. And this time, this will be the 4th trip I've made out there in the past 2.5 years or so. And this will be the first time that it's been for me. And the other 3 times were for me too, but they were mostly for somebody else, so that they could see me and that I could see them. And I just didn't know that this last time was going to be the last time. So now this time, I'm just going, and there's no real destination. There's no one waiting for me. There's no one I'm going to meet. I'm going by myself again, and I was going to go get a hotel room and be in the area for what could be the last time. And I'm going to go visit some places, I hope. Some places that I haven't seen in a long time, even in these past few years when I've been making the trip back. I never went to. And they were part of my territory, or part of my world, part of my backyard for the longest time. And I've been trying to make a tour these past few trips, and like seeing things and documenting them, taking pictures and videos that I never took the time to even think about wanting to capture when I was living them. This is a lesson to myself now, is that I'm creating memories, and they only mean anything to me. They shouldn't and probably won't ever mean anything to anybody else. A passing curiosity of somebody, their life and how they lived it and what they thought about it and felt. But as far as the actual meaning, to each their own. Whatever lessons anybody else can gather and make sense of and apply to their own experience, I don't know. Good luck if you're watching this. But again, this is not about entertainment or education. And if anybody had accidentally or intentionally clicked on this video, I doubt they would have made it this far. And that's probably a good thing, because I tend to think that some of my thoughts could prove unsettling to people that aren't prepared. This is a very, almost a clinical evaluation of my own life and how I deal with things. And perhaps I'm less emotionally involved, and just I think about things very rationally, or at least I think I do. And I know some of the videos were a bit more emotionally engaged. I have to allow myself that and practice allowing myself that, and not be scared to show that I am human, just like everybody else. And that emotions are not a flaw, and they're not something to be hidden again. So I don't need to feel ashamed or embarrassed, by having feelings and then expressing them. Just like my story up to this point. Yeah, there's some less than admirable qualities and parts to it. But, you know, all those things, I don't have to live again. I don't have to do it again. And whatever mistakes I'm making right now in my life, or, you know, I don't know it. I won't know it until after. If I knew in advance about the mistakes that I'm making or about to make, then would I make them? Maybe I would. Maybe I'd be too scared to do something different. Because then would I know in advance if whatever it was that I chose to do different would also not be a mistake. So it's like, I can't afford to double think and triple think myself to death. So I just go with my first impression or first thought with some degree of skepticism and benefit of the doubt and suspension of disbelief based on whatever the situation is and my read of it, you know, and living by dead reckoning. I get a sense of things and then act based on my history of what I think is going to unfold, or what I currently think is unfolding, and then am acting in earnest based on that way. But that's to say that my perception is correct. And that's a big if and a big perception and assumption. Because most of the time I'm acting in one way, even though the truth of the matter is quite different. And my read is flawed, but I don't know it. So I can cause offense and hurt when none was intended. But that doesn't mean anything. It still registers as hurt, still registers as offense. And my solution is to interact less with people, to shut down and not communicate. Because if I don't interact with people and I don't communicate, then I can't accidentally possibly hurt them. But I hurt people that way too, because then they're like, well, what did we do wrong? What did I do wrong? You know, it's like, the answer is nothing. It's not you. It's not anyone. It's everyone. So it's like when I stop talking, people think that they personally have done something, or that I'm angry at them, and then they get angry for not knowing, and then they get angry at me because I'm not explaining myself, and they think that I'm mad at them for something that they did when they don't realize that they've done anything, and they think, then they get mad at me because they think that I'm mad at them, and I'm not explaining to them what they should have. And it's like, no, you didn't do anything wrong in the first place. I'm just not talking. And it's not you, it's everybody. Except for the very few people that I actually have in my life that they have some sort of permission, which I don't know if I gave it to them or they just took. But they are allowed some flexibility. And they are able to, you know, talk to me about things that other people are not. So, I don't know. People just tend to see my behavior the way it is and just classify me and, you know, throw me into that, you know, I'm arrogant or entitled, or that I think that I'm better than or superior than other people category. Or I am, you know, too self-confident, or I don't know, something like that. But if anything, I'm like far more emotionally insecure than I think other people allow me to be, or want to allow me to be. I'm supposed to be stronger, or I'm supposed to be this, or supposed to be that. And I don't know what stories people have about me. And I probably don't want to know. But I mostly just keep to myself. And try to do my own thing, and I have, I think, some level of respect for not being, I don't know, I've kind of gone off track. But that was the purpose of this, was to let myself go off track. And just to go wherever. That's what these videos are about. Just leaving something for the future. Who knows? Like, I talk about looking forward to looking back on these times with some sense of, oh, so that's what was going on. Or, like, I assume I'll have some greater knowledge at some point that'll shed light on whatever's going on right now. But most likely I will have just, my situation will have changed, and whatever is mattering to me right now will not matter the same, or it will matter less, or I will have forgotten about it. Or the situation will just entirely have changed. Or I might not even have a future. You know, something could happen to me tomorrow, you know, on the trip. I never know. But somehow I've been surviving up to this point. So I must be doing something okay. I have a fair and reasonable evaluation of the world and how it operates and what is safe and what is not safe, and people and situations that are. There are moments when I feel threatened, and I try to stay away from encountering those moments, or at least know my exits and know my escape routes. Because there is a certain level of anxiety and stress and fear, which is healthy, I think. To live in absolute, denial of those feelings is sketchy. So I don't need to live in them, but I should be aware of them, I guess is the thing. And not just assume that I'm okay in every situation, as though my assumptions protect me. In which, in fact, my assumptions can tend to diminish my ability to perceive and take action. So if I'm getting a hostile reaction to whatever behavior I'm exhibiting, then I can, I need to be aware of that so I can, change. And if I am in the midst of what is actually a hostile environment, and I've just been dealing with it, it's like I have permission to not deal with it. Because life is too short to have to, be constantly in struggle and in angst and in uncertainty and unknown. It's like I don't have to. Not that I need everything given to me, but the ability to be able to ask questions and discern what is actually real, and then also have a continuity about it, a sense of the familiar. I don't know. It's a work in progress, life in progress. And I feel like at least I'm working on that nowadays. And sure, I'm guessing there are things I could be doing better, but I can only just guess at it and piecemeal, cobble things together. And it will have turned out to have been some sort of life. And I guess that's about it. And today marks the end of my 1 year of running and keeping a record of it. I will have made it with today's run up to about 1,090 miles. But I've yet to complete that last run, and I'm going to do that here in a little bit. So